And with that, we will set our agenda tonight. I am not aware of any changes or amendments or adjustments. Any from the Planning Commission? Seeing none, we will set the agenda as stated. Our next item up will be the staff reports. We'll start with Ms. Hamlet.
Thank you. I don't have much to say tonight, but I did want to thank Chris Long for his service to the city and welcome Ms. Neff. Myself and Andy are working on getting you guys continuing education class scheduled, and we're looking at August, and we'll keep you posted on that. That's all I have.
Fantastic. Thank you. Mr. Buffman, anything? Public Works? Come on up.
Hope you all doing well tonight. I do want to welcome the member of the board. A couple of things we're working on at Public Works is two studies we're doing. One about a feasibility and implementation of a stormwater utility. I know the floods from a couple of months ago have did a lot of damage here, and with our board of commissioners being very proactive, we've got that out to bid for consultants to award a contract to look at implementing stormwater utility to guard against the rain events and get going on things to be proactive for our citizens. Second study we're doing is a road impact fee, which is much development that's going on here in the city. We're trying to be a step ahead and also protect our residents and make sure that the infrastructure is holding up and sound going for the future, because the growth has just been exponential here. So that's what we're doing at Public Works, but it's everything I've got tonight. Thank you, guys.
How is, one quick question for you. How are they coming along with the Interstate project up there? Everything seem to be running on time?
I believe so. Yes, sir.
Wonderful.
So-
Good news. I get a lot of questions and comments about that, so try to mention that each time we get it.
The less we hear from them, the better. So it seems like they're going good.
That is a good thing. Yes, sir. I agree. Fantastic. All right. At this time, we'll take citizen comments. Public is welcome and encouraged to make public comment about any item on our agenda. There'll be two opportunities for you to make comments. You may speak now, or you may speak when the item is presented to the Planning Commission. And we do ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Anyone wishing to address the Planning Commission at this time is welcome and encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments at this time, we will move forward with our first item on the agenda. Our first item is underneath our minutes approval. It's item 2.1, the Planning Commission regular meeting minutes from April 15th of 2021. Any questions, comments, typos, errors, adjustments? No. Seeing none at this time, looking for a motion in regards to this item on our agenda. Got a motion? Second. A second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? So approved. Next item on our agenda falls underneath our consent agenda items. We'll begin with item 3.1, Nichols Vale, Phase 2, Section 2A, Sewer Letter of Credit, number 7006843, in the amount of $15,387 can be released. Item 3.2, Nichols Vale, Phase 2, Section 3, Sewer Letter of Credit, number 7006846, in the amount of $43,405.50 can be released. Item 3.3, Tuscan Gardens, Phase 12, Sewer Letter of Credit, number 954-255-3054-90045, in the amount of $47,581.09 can be released. Item 3.4, Tuscan Gardens, Phase 13, Sewer Letter of Credit, number 954-255-3054-90046, in the amount of $67,252.50 can be released. Item 3.5, Tuscan Gardens, Phase 14, Sewer Letter of Credit, number 954-255-3054-90086, in the amount of $118,656 can be released. Item 3.6, Tuscan Gardens, Phase 17, Development Letter of Credit Number 954-255-3054-90018 in the amount of $37,233.45 can be released. Item 3.7, review the final plat for Harrington Phase 3 located at Central Pike. Item 3.8, review the final plat for Jackson Hills Phase 5, Section 5A located at Fallow Road. Item 3.9, review the final master development plan for Lynn Haven Phase 3 located at Tate Lane. Excuse me. Item 3.10, review the preliminary plat for Waterford Park located at South Rutland Road. Item 3.11, review the site plan for the Wash and Roll located at Belinda Parkway. Ms. Hamlin.
Thank you. I just have one clarification on the approval conditions for item 3.11, which is the site plan for Wash and Roll. CMU is not permitted, so our staff report states that all bricks should be clay baked and individually laid, but it needs to also include that CMU is not permitted. It needs to be brick. And otherwise, staff recommends approval with our conditions listed on the other projects.
Very well.
Thank you.
Questions or comments from Public Works? Please.
Harrington Phase 3, comment number 1 from Public Works. I've got March 2021 on there. That should be May. Other than that, all of our comments stand.
Very well. Thank you. I have one question in regards to 3.1 on the preliminary plat for Waterford Park located at South Rutland Road. Preliminary plat, that's our last time to see this or first time to see this? Preliminary plat's our first time to see it.
Your first time to see it, and typically it comes in FMDP and preliminary plat. They just separated them for this subdivision, so you'll still have a final plat to come through for Harrington.
One of the things that really, and I think I was here at that meeting, I cannot remember 100%, but looking at their amenity center parking and the stacking of the mail kiosk sitting in those two areas right there.
For Harrington?
Yes.
I think that got approved before we started making them separated out, but I will check on that for you.
Would you mind? Because it
I
looks
sure
like malfunction junction a little bit in both of those areas.
I
A little
think
bit,
that's why we started requiring them to be separated.
a little bit too much and too little of a space.
I agree.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Further questions or comments from the commission? This time we'll call for citizen comments. Anyone wishing to make comment? Come to the microphone and name and address for the record, please.
My name is Joan Giltner, 1409 Tate Lane, also partial owner of 1407 Tate Lane. I'd like to express my concerns regarding Lynn Haven 3 in two areas. Density of housing and resulting impact on Tate Lane traffic volume and drainage. Traffic volume. With respect to density, one might say the site plans for Lynn Haven 3 haven't changed much since they were proposed in 2014, but Tate Lane has. Since 2014, a total of 5 homes have been built on 12 acres. 5 homes on 12 acres. Lynn Haven 3 is proposing 36 homes on 18 acres. More than 7 times the number of homes on only 3 times the acreage. Lynn Haven 3 will triple the number of residences on Tate Lane. In addition, since 2014, Tate Lane traffic has been significantly impacted by the addition of Green Hill High School, cut-through traffic to Lebanon Road growth and development, including Nichols Vale, the Hamilton Denson Soccer Complex under development, and while not in the city, the 12 properties under development on the Zumbro property that need to be factored into development approval. Considering only the known developments, there will be a significant increase in traffic on Tate Lane, which is not designed for volume. Assuming 10 trips per day per household, the estimated traffic count will increase by 530 vehicles over 2014, not including the soccer complex. Tate Lane is pretty much a one-lane, unimproved road. The majority of the road resides in the county's jurisdiction and management. Lynn Haven 3 will be a subdivision discharging its residents onto a county road ill-suited for the proposed traffic volume. Decision-making when traffic safety is concerned can't be about near-term, but future impacts. We understand Tate Lane is a public road, and while we'd love for it to be a one-way or a gated residential access greenway for residents only, we know these options are unlikely. Since Lynn Haven 3 approval is a foregone conclusion by this commission, we'd propose that the city seriously consider annexing a reasonable portion of Tate Lane impacted by the soccer complex, Greenway, and Lynn Haven 3. The annexation would include the road only, no properties. Annexing Tate Lane would allow for appropriate traffic safety enforcement and management by the city. Once the city is responsible for the road, traffic management measures could be implemented, which could include speed limit enforcement, additional speed bumps strategically placed to mitigate speeding, which is the primary safety concern, adding a deceleration lane into the soccer fields to ensure traffic turning off West Division clears the Tate Lane intersection, restricting northbound traffic exiting the soccer fields and new subdivision via curbing or other physical barriers, and making Tate Lane a resident-only greenway as was suggested at the soccer field public meeting. Lastly, I'd like to remind the commission that the density of the housing in Lynn Haven 3 continues to increase over the original concept of 1 acre lots. With respect to drainage, I recall when the plans were approved in 2014, the neighbors on Due West and Bass were concerned about the impact of increased runoff on their low-lying areas that already flood. We also need to ensure that the new lots don't impact the drainage of existing Tate Lane residents. In closing, we aren't anti-development. We are pro-traffic safety to hopefully limit serious injury or worse to both residents and users of Tate Lane. The proposed density of homes on an underdeveloped county road is cause for extreme traffic safety concern. Any additional traffic on Tate Lane is concerning, let alone the sheer substantial volume to be created by a large permanent subdivision. We look forward towards thoughtful, continued solution to managing Tate Lane's safety concerns. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Please.
Jennifer Mullally, 217 Sunny Acre Drive. Couple of things on 3.11. I just want to say that with planning's request, I'm fully supportive of the wash and roll. I'm so excited to get a car wash on the south side of the interstate. It's badly needed. The other one is 3.10 on Waterford Park. I would like you to include that the tree line in the north section, the tree line on the south side of that northern section not be touched. Some of the tree line is on Richard Lyon's property, and some of it is on Waterford Park's property. So I would really like to see you put it in there that tree line is not touched. If you look at it, it's an obvious tree line. There's no like stagnant trees out in the field or anything like that. I'm talking about the tree line that exists between the properties. So I would like to have that added in there. And that's all.
Thank you. You said the north, I'm just looking.
Northern section, there's two sections, northern section and southern section. This is on the northern section, on that southern tree line, on the southern boundary. Oh.
So it's right here in this area, next to the detention pond in that northern.
And we got the buffer there. Or is it undisturbed buffer?
It'll be reduced because of the grading there, but there will be a landscape buffer there. She's just asking for those trees to remain undisturbed.
Yes.
We can add that in. Very well.
Sharon Nolan, I live at 1409 Tate Lane. I used to think my cancer would kill me, but now I worry about pulling out of my driveway onto Tate Lane. Is that dramatic? Is that maybe overreacting? But that's how serious the traffic safety concerns have become on Tate Lane. 2014, the findings on the first reading for this subdivision said there will be no adverse effects on the joining property owners. There will be no material beneficial considerations given to the property owner or small groups or individuals. There will be no detrimental impacts to the general public. It may be possible that we might need to reevaluate this to the extent that things change in the area as we move forward. I think we can say over the past 7 years, and as Joan maybe noted earlier, there have been substantial changes to Tate Lane and the surrounding community. Not for the better, unfortunately. While we appreciate some of the mitigation efforts that have been put in place in the past year, there's been additional signage, but it hasn't been very effective. I think it's for both the residents and the cutters and people that use Tate Lane on a daily basis, it's sign fatigue. People just ignore it. So 36 homes is a lot of, is a large addition. It's more dangerous. We would really respectfully request that the city give some serious consideration to continuing to identify traffic safety measures that will limit serious injury or worse in the future. I think myself and other neighbors have been subject of aggressive driving, people driving down the middle of the road, driving around us, road rage incidents. It's just becoming more dangerous. Today, our security cameras picked up some 20 dump trucks going down to the Zumbro property, going down Tate Lane. These are sizable dump trucks. It just, the wear and tear on the infrastructure and the road itself, Tate Lane just can't support that kind of traffic. So again, I would just hope that the city gives some serious consideration. The annexation of an appropriate portion of Tate Lane is a pretty good start, possible option, and look forward to working with the city on moving forward to some reasonable solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional citizen comments at this time? Seeing no,
Yeah,
please.
Chad Potts. Whoops, battery in my pocket. 1660 Tate Lane. Joan and Sharon have done an excellent job of painting a picture of what we probably need, but I want to expand on just one part of it. Is that they didn't mention, but it came up in the Parks meeting as well. A lot of people walk on this road as well, and like Sharon mentioned, they'll drive as fast as they can. They pass their house, they're heading southbound. They get up to 50, 60 miles an hour, and they'll come within feet of you. These are, you put a greenway in, and the residents of Tate Lane like to access it, but it's a danger to all of us to get there. So, maybe the annexation could put in sidewalks. We haven't really thought about that, but there's a proposal to extend the greenway up through the soccer. We call it the soccer complex, practice complex, whatever you want to call it. But, it's just one thing I want to add to the comments they've already made.
Thank you. Any additional citizen comments? Seeing none, all right, come on.
I'll be real short. John Thomas, 753 Tate Lane. I'm on the far end. None of this will affect me except for the value of my place. Other than that, go gangbusters. But I don't walk on Tate Lane anymore. My wife does not walk on Tate Lane anymore. I've been hit 3 times. Twice from behind. in a four-wheel drive UT orange bucket truck, F800, sizable, because I live there and that's where I've run my business out of. I can't tell you the times I've cleaned the road up where people have dumped. And when I had a Bobcat tree business, I just cleaned it and I burned it. A little fire going at Tate Lane, that's probably me. Because I was cleaning up the road. I don't know what's best, but probably you guys that don't live there think they're crazy. Nobody's going to. If you guys sit in my driveway, which you don't respond because we're in the county, when I'm vandalized, when I'm stolen from, when people break in my house. So I'm not in the city. You don't owe me anything except for just a human being. I can't walk down the road. I can't drive down the road without getting this. And one neighbor is specifically bad. And that's the guy that owns all this and his bunch. So if you want to run Mount Juliet, just let it go through, make your little tax dollar, get everything in the county. The reason I moved into the county is so I wouldn't have to fool with this crap. So just human to human, if you lived there where I lived, you would care about what happens at the end of Tate Lane.
Any additional citizen comments? See no additional citizen comments at this time. We'll be closing our planning commission meeting in order to open a public hearing. Public hearing is in regards to item 3.7, which is review the final plat for Harrington Phase 3 located at Central Pike. Also item 3.8, review the final plat for Jackson Hills Phase 5, Section 5A, located at Fallow Road. Anyone wishing to make comments about either of those items during the public hearings, welcome and encouraged to do so. And please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments at this time, we'll close our public hearing, reopen our planning commission meeting, at which time I am looking for a motion in regards to the items on our planning commission, on our consent agenda. I'll make a motion to approve with the addition of on item 3.1 to add in tree preservation on the south boundary of phase 1 and 2 abutting the Lions property. And the CMU on item 3.11 for the wash and roll, I think were the additional comments.
Public Works edits.
And the Public Works comments as well.
Second.
That is a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? So approved. Next item up on our agenda falls underneath the site plan. It's item 4.1. It's to review the site plan for Beckwith Station located at 225 Wilfong Parkway. Mr. Brugman.
Thank you. This is on Wilfong Parkway, as you said. This is Beckwith Station. It's a convenience store, filling gas pumps, and 2 drive-through restaurants and professional offices as well. This is the applicant has worked very well with us, so we have basically covered everything in this. They are asking for a couple of waivers that staff does support because they are beneficial to the overall appearance, and we enjoy the way the site plan and the building and everything looks, and these waivers are for materials, and they make a good looking site and building. And it's one of the waivers is for the gas pump canopy, and we require brick on those. And they're asking for smooth finish stucco on the canopy, which will match the building, as you'll see in the elevations there. And the other one is the screen wall rather than parapet for the HVAC, which kind of ties it in with the canopy as well. on the waiver list there, there's the third one about the landscaping, the street yard requirement. That can be disregarded now. That has been worked through, after this report was written. So that is a non-issue at this point. Everything else planning related has been taken care of, short of what you see in the conditions there. They're all kind of mild or modest, regular, typical conditions that you'll see here and there. I would like to say that number 8 and number 6 under the planning department conditions are the same. It's just one of them can be removed. They are redundant. But other than that, staff does recommend approval of this site plan and we also are, and that includes waivers as well. They're in the conditions as well. So I think that's it, unless you have questions. Otherwise, it's a pretty good site plan. Looks great. Thank you.
A quick one for you.
Yes.
Looks like the building is pushed back off Beckwith Road, so we've accounted for the future right-of-way. Gain that.
Shane might have to answer that. I believe so. Another thing I'd like to say is that the pumps are in the rear. I forgot to mention that. That is we ask that on every single project that comes through with, and this one, they did it. So it's great. I don't know, Shane, is that, are you
Shane,
aware?
Public Works?
Anything else for me?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
What was your question again, Mr. Chairman?
We've looks like the building is pushed back off of Beckwith Road, so we've accounted for gaining the right of way for the future widening of Beckwith Road.
I believe so. Yes, sir.
Okay.
We've already got sufficient right of way. It's already been granted on Beckwith.
So we're good with that? Okay. And it does have sidewalks around it, right?
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Multi-use trail on Beckwith, sidewalk on Wilfong.
Thank you. Further questions or comments from the commission at this time?
I just got a quick comment.
Please.
I support this project. We need something like this in that corridor. It's pretty much just open space right now. So I looked at design. I've met with Jessica on this, and I'm full support of it.
Thanks.
It's good. It's a good project. Thank you.
Yeah, I gotta say, hats off on putting those on the rear. Further questions or comments from the commission? Wonderful. This time I'd like to take citizen comments in regards to this item on the agenda. Any citizen wishing to make comment are welcome and encouraged to do so. And please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments this time, looking for a motion in regards to this item on our agenda. It's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? So approved. Next item on our agenda is a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. It falls underneath the final master development plan or major PUD amendment. It would be to review Silver Springs Phase 7, final master development plan, major PUD amendment located at Karen Drive. Ms. Hamlet.
You stole all my words from me. After that, just as you stated, this is for Silver Springs Phase 7. They have found an error in a wetland delineation. Therefore, they have found a reasonable area to include 4 additional lots, and that's what they have proposed in this section.
These remain and come underneath the existing HOA and everything, right?
Nothing changes. They're just in Phase 7, 4 additional lots. Same HOA. They'll be able to use the amenity center. It's no different than any other resident in the development.
I just remember one that we had years ago that they
Mhm.
became their own HOA.
Yes, that was in Wintry,
Yeah,
straight zone subdivision.
Yep.
Really weird, but
I know.
that's what happens when you have a pond to maintain.
Yes, ma'am. I agree.
Thank you. Staff
Thank you.
does recommend approval on this one.
Any comments from Public Works? Very well. Any questions or comments from the commission?
Yes.
Please.
So explain to me, the wetlands were never there, or they don't exist now, or how do they just disappear?
They actually didn't disappear. The previous engineer thought they were took up a lot more area than they actually do. So when they did a field investigation, and I'll let Mike Rye come and speak if I'm speaking in error here, when they came out and did a field inspection, they identified and pinned those locations down and realized that they weren't as wide or didn't take up the area that they did originally.
Further questions or comments? Let's go ahead and take citizen comments in regards to this item on our agenda. Any citizens wishing to make comment are welcome and encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments at this time, I'm looking for a recommendation in regards to this item on our agenda. Positive recommendation?
Second.
And a second? We got a motion and a second for a positive recommendation. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? It is a positive recommendation. Next item on the agenda is also a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. It is to review the zoning ordinance amendment for 8-207.1, minimum size of RM8 residential planned unit development districts. Ms. Hamble.
Thank you. I feel like I have talked about this every month since October, but here we are again. I have been contacted and approached by Commissioner Hefner to reduce the 20-acre minimum lot size for RM8 down to 10 acres. If you guys remember when we brought this through in January of 2016, that was John and I's original recommendation was the 10 acres. I think Scott would like to see a little more multifamily controlled, where you're not having apartment, the RM16 density, but to provide more opportunity for townhomes within the city. And so he approached me about that minimum lot size reduction to 10 acres. And since staff and I had already recommended the 10 acres originally, I support this request as well.
Very well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would you wish to expand?
Thank you. So I wasn't around for the October vote. I didn't understand why RM8 was included in the 20-acre minimum lot size requirement. Since being on the board and talking to many developers, there's a strong need for housing in Mount Juliet. We are not shy about shooting down apartment complexes, but there is no bridge. There is no gap between nothing and a single family home, which right now is going for about $230 a square foot. You just simply cannot afford to purchase houses in Mount Juliet anymore. We as a city have recruited businesses. Amazon is a prime example. They're going to be filling 3,000 jobs over the next 3 to 6 months. And these folks are not buying homes in Mount Juliet. They're going to be living in Lebanon, or they're going to be living Watertown. They're going to be living everywhere where else but Mount Juliet. All those tax dollars are going to go home and eat. They're going to go home in Lebanon. They're going to shop. They're going to go to Watertown. So we're creating jobs, but we're not providing enough inventory at that price level to afford these employees to live here in this community, even our own city employees, a lot of which have to live outside of the city of Mount Juliet. So I am strongly in favor of reducing RM8 to 10. The other thing this also did on the 20 acres is it really eliminated a lot of the small town, the small local developers. So with the 20 minimum acre, you're basically forcing large national branded developers to come in and develop these big apartment complexes and these big townhome communities. So you're cutting out all of the local developers. This gives an opportunity for, Mr. and Mrs. Patel that is now going to undertake the district, which was passed last year, which is an 11-acre project, townhome that came through this commission, and it passed by the BOC. It's a beautiful development. They've got, patio, rooftop patios. It's just a fabulous project. And those are the types of projects I like. And they're townhomes, so it's 70 units, swimming pool. These are the types of units I would like to see. And under the current 20-acre restriction, that's not going to happen. So I'd like to relieve that and knock it down. 5 acres is too small. 15 acres isn't going to move the needle. So I thought 10 acres would be a good place to set that minimum.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the commission?
I've got one
Commissioner
more
Rhodes?
comment. What was the original open space requirement? Has it gone between 10 and 20%, or is?
Originally, it was 7%.
Okay.
It was amended during the minimum acreage requirements to 10%. So it's 10% now, and that's not going to change. So the improved open space percentage will remain 10% for 10 acres.
So it's never been 20%?
No, they toyed with that
Okay.
in the beginning, but it was reduced to 10.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Further questions or comments? This time, let's call for citizen comments in regards to this item on our agenda. Any citizens wishing to make comment? Welcome and encouraged to do so.
Jennifer Mullally, 217 Sunny Acre Drive. I would respectfully ask that you not approve this. Back in October, the BOC approved the 20-acre minimum by majority vote, 4-1. I feel it's a good policy, and I feel it should stay in place. What is going to prevent apartments for rent going into that, or townhomes for rent? I just feel like you're opening Pandora's box here. It was brought up, I've got the minutes from October 26th. It was brought up during the meeting. This was second reading. It was stated that RM8 can either be apartments or townhomes, high-rise condos or apartments. Not sure you can discriminate. City Attorney Gino stated you cannot discriminate. He's on record for saying that. So if you want to do this because you want to allow local developers to put in townhomes, I get it. It sounds good, but there's nothing to stop the apartments for rent. I just feel like you're opening Pandora's box, and I respectfully ask that you not approve, and that the BOC vote stands as is at a 20-acre minimum. Thank you.
Thank you. Comment anytime.
Just want to follow up on Mrs. Mullally's mention of rentals. We deal with that at the BOC when the PUD comes through. We've started to do it. You voted for it yourself, where we restrict the percentage of rentals in a community to 10%, and any individual buyer or entity can only own 2. So we're addressing that at the BOC. So I'm actually surprised by your concern there, because we're already tackling that at the BOC level. So, and I'm glad you brought up the rental homes, because American Home Rentals right now, because there aren't products out there for individuals to purchase at this price level, American Home Rentals is buying up large chunks of subdivisions in Mount Juliet. So until we create a product that individuals, young families, divorced parents, single moms, single dads can purchase, then you're going to continue to see the trend like you're seeing right now with American Home Rentals going out and buying up blocks of land, putting in rental homes. So this will solve that problem.
Just one time. No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
Additional citizen comments?
Ray Justice, District 1 City Commissioner, 251 Spring Hill Drive, Mount Juliet.
back in October on 26th, she was reading from the minutes just earlier, and I believe she'll go completely through the minutes when we talked about the distinction between RM16 and RM8. The conversation was had at that point that there were a lot of smaller tracts of land, the 10-acre tracts of land that Commissioner Hefner was talking about. A lot of those are in my district. My district is the one that's pretty much left untouched at this point, and they're starting to build over there. I do want to see quality development come in. That being said, the 10-acre restriction was discussed, and for whatever reason, and by the way, there was one dissenting vote, and that was mine. I didn't vote for it then. But the RM8 was talked about being removed from that, and they said, well, don't worry about it tonight. We can do this at a later date. Now, that was a conversation that came with a couple of former members of the BOC. They're no longer here. Tonight's the night. This is later on down the road. We've got smaller tracts of land over there that are 10 and 12 acres. And these people have been holding on to their land for a long time with the opportunity, hopefully, to develop that land. They don't have 40 and 50 acres. They don't have 20 plus acres. They've got 10, 12, 13, 14 acres. These people lived their entire lives and held on to that land for the very real possibility that someday they'd be able to capitalize on what their parents or their grandparents or somebody else has invested in and kept. And that was my argument then. It's my argument now. We've got an opportunity to allow some decent, nice development. The townhomes are not, they don't create as high a value home. I do agree with that. I don't believe in the term, I'm trying to think of the concept that I'm looking for, the lower value homes. I don't believe in that. I think people ought to go out and work hard and save their money and buy a home that's very nice. And I don't want Mount Juliet turned into something like America's Homes for Rents. As Scott was saying earlier, they have created and are continuing to create a problem in our community, and I don't know how we're going to fix that. And hopefully Gino Marchetti will come up with some miracle and be able to fix it. But I'm asking you tonight for the RM10, or RM8 rather, and the 10 acres, leave it at 10%. Don't have a problem with that for the open space, but give some of these folks an opportunity to be able to enjoy what they've been able to keep all these years. Like I said, my district is probably one of the areas that you're going to see, these people capitalize on this. It's an opportunity for them. It's one that their parents and their grandparents all invested in many years ago, and now's their time. And we were told back then on October 26th, when we voted on this, that we would be revisiting this and this would be our opportunity. Well, here's the opportunity. So I'm going to ask you, if you would please, to go ahead and approve this. Send it to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Darren Cunningham, 1401 Fairview Drive here in Mount Juliet. And I want to, first off, I'm recusing myself from speaking on the planning commission, as I'm a developer by trade and a real estate broker by trade. So I think I just want to speak as a citizen of Mount Juliet there. With that being said, there's some very valid points brought up here tonight from, I would call it maybe both sides, if you would. All in all, I support this. I want to paint the picture. I think our city needs this because it comes down to more, let's say, affordable housing for folks. So we're bringing in a massive amount of jobs to our city. And what I don't want, and Commissioner Hefner touched on this, what I think would be an injustice to our city is to bring in, let's just call it 5,000 jobs to the city that have an average pay of $15, $18, $19, $20 an hour. And you have your households that are dual income households making less than $100,000 a year. But then the housing prices here in Mount Juliet, if you looked at them recently, they're sky high. So those folks can't necessarily afford to buy the $450,000 or $550,000 homes, which is where the starting point is now for new construction in the city of Mount Juliet. So the way to prevent that and to give somebody an opportunity to buy something new would be through a higher dense area. which was be townhomes. So I understand the original intent of the bill was to not put more apartments in every single corner of Mount Juliet. And apartments are going to be what we call stacked flats. So those are going to be where one unit's on top of another, which is going to be the RM16 zoning, which is not part of this bill, but the RM8 is, which is a lower dense type zoning, which allows for townhomes. And those townhomes are going to be, it doesn't make sense for a developer. In my world of real estate, of investing and developing real estate and the clients I work with, it doesn't make sense to have apartments that are zoned here because it's just too big. You need stacked flats, okay? So I understand the concerns, but I think it's alleviated by the type of zoning that these have. And I do want to go back to the original point, I think we've done ourselves an injustice by bringing the jobs to the city for those folks to come here and work and go back home to Lebanon, Watertown, somewhere else and spend their money. We need places here for them to live. So if we've made it more restrictive on apartments, we have to allow for something else for them to stay here and live here and spend their tax dollars in our city. I think we need them here. We deserve them here. Some of my clients I work with are institutional investment funds. I will tell you, and I'm going in 1 month to a conference in Miami, and it's the IMN conference. And I will tell you one of the very hottest topics amongst these institutional investors, these are Wall Street traders, is build for rent communities. American Homes for Rent, Progress Residential, Amherst, Sparrow, the list goes on. And this is a whole new asset class on Wall Street. The buzz about Mount Juliet is don't try to do it in Mount Juliet anymore because we've already put in restrictions on the PUDs because you cannot, and correct me if I'm wrong speaking out of turn on this, but on the PUDs, you can't have one entity own more than 2 homes in the developments. So that by default is going to prevent those folks from coming here to Mount Juliet. Now, some of these were grandfathered in already, but any new development, it would prevent that from happening. So for example, if a townhome development came in that was 12 acres, that particular, if you called American Homes for Rent, Progress Residential, all the folks I just named and said, we've got townhomes, they're $325,000 a door, they would write you a check for full price plus 10% to buy all of them. They will pay up above everybody else. However, the restrictions, we'll call them, are already in place to prevent that from happening. So we've already done our homework ahead of time, which is another reason why I support this. I think all the work's been done ahead of time. That's all I have. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Further, any additional citizen comments? Wonderful. See no additional citizen comments. I am looking for a recommendation in regards to this item on our agenda.
Motion for a positive recommendation, send to the BOC.
It's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? Yeah. Thank you. That is a positive recommendation. Yeah. It's expensive when the attorney has to save you, right? Probably bill you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. The next item on our agenda is also a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. Is review the out-of-city sewer service extension request for Canebrake Citavision located on West Division Street.
This came through to the Planning Commission, I think in November or December, right, Jennifer? And it was voted against based on the rule of first refusal from the City of Mount Juliet to provide sewer. And within the last few months, with the help of the developers and ourselves, we've crafted a plan to provide sewer for this development. And we have arranged a contract to provide sewer service to the development, with the development providing sewer within its boundary. We have gotten through first reading on a contract to start design for this development. for the sewer for this development. And once the BOC approves the second reading, we'll get going on this. So I'm up for any questions y'all have.
Do we have any other out of city limits sewer service that we provide to of this significance?
I would believe the answer is
Outside
no.
of one or two lots, one or two taps?
No, sir.
Off of Nonneville, 40 houses. That's aged though, years ago. Very well. Further questions or comments?
We know why they don't want to get annexed into the city.
Yeah, because they were turned down.
I'm going to refer to Gino on that question.
Working on that.
Okay.
It may still happen.
Okay.
But to tell me to wake up.
Further questions or comments? Let's go ahead and call for citizen comments then in regards to this item on the agenda. Seeing no citizen comments, I'll share something real quick. There's no way that I can support anything remotely close to this. There makes no sense for us to say, hey, flush your toilets with us, get your water with us, use everything that we have, but don't give anything back to us. No sense why we should do anything remotely close to accepting something like this. They're turned down at the last meeting because of the plan that was presented to us, and yet the plan that comes with this request is the same exact plan that this body turned down. You would have to explain that to me very simply to understand why this would be any type of a valid request at this moment. And to me, a very frustrating use of everybody's time to present something like that to this body. And that's as plain and simple as I will make that comment. With that, I'm looking for a recommendation in regards to this item on our agenda. I'll make a recommendation for a negative recommendation. How about that?
Second.
It's a motion and a second for a negative recommendation. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? Is a negative recommendation. With that being said, I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Oh, Commissioner Weathers got the motion. I got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? We are adjourned.